All right, so it is 5:31 and I'm calling this meeting to order. First, a reminder that meetings of the Select Board are meetings conducted in public. They are not meetings of the public. Nonetheless, members of the public shall be afforded reasonable opportunities to express opinions about matters conducted by the Select Board, so long as order is maintained. The rules for public comments are, at the conclusion of a Select Board discussion on an agenda item, but before any action is taken, there may be 10 minutes afforded to public comment. Comments made by the public must be addressed to the chair or to the Select Board as a whole, and not to any individual members of the Select Board or members of the public. Members of the public must be acknowledged by the chair before speaking. If a member of the public has already spoken on a topic, they shall not be recognized again until others have first been given the opportunity to comment. Order and decorum shall be maintained throughout the meeting. Personal, impertinent, threatening, or profane remarks will not be tolerated. For those who are participating via Zoom, please note that chat is not an appropriate avenue for public comment. All public comments must be made verbally when acknowledged by the chair. Please silence all cell phones, and a reminder to all that this meeting is being recorded and may appear on the internet. And as noted, I have come down with the not COVID crowd that's going around, and so has Peg. Peg is online. So I'm going to try to include her in the meeting as much as possible. Peg, if I don't see you, please just speak up. All right, are there adjustments to the order of the agenda?
I have one. So item 9A2.
Yeah.
I would like to strike that.
Because we already did it.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that is it, unless you want to adjust anything.
Are there any other adjustments to the agenda, order of the agenda? Select Board? Peg?
9A3 should also be struck, shouldn't it, Karen?
No, that's a second application for the nursing program.
Oh, okay, got it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, so can I hear a motion to approve the minutes of March 6, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of March 6, 2024. Are there any questions or additions or deletions? Peg, do you have anything? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, can I hear a motion for the warrants?
Make a motion to approve and execute the warrants to the treasurer upon completion of review.
For a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve and execute the warrants upon completion of review. Karen?
Payroll warrant dated March 22nd, 2024 in the amount of $27,687.75. So there is an extra deposit in here for Tom Goddard, which is his vacation accrual,
Okay.
plus his regular paycheck.
Oh, so that's just, that note, that break in the thing is just a memo? That's why there's a break?
Yes,
Okay.
yep.
Fletcher, I don't know if you realize this, but the actual number's on the back here. That's the,
Yeah, actually, if you add up the two numbers.
Okay.
You can
you can do that on the fly? I can't, okay. All right. Any questions on the payroll? Moving on to accounts payable.
Accounts payable dated March 9th through March 22nd, 2024 in the amount of $91,451.50. So VLCT property and casualty, that's a quarterly payment. MVP, $22,499.38, which is a monthly payment.
Is the VLCT, is that the same as passive?
Yes.
Any questions on the accounts payable? Peg, any questions? Looks like you're off camera.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Any other questions on the warrants? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, thank you, Peg. I'll try to pause. All right. Okay, next is public comment on items not on the agenda. Are there comments, the select board, does anybody on the select board have anything they'd like to say before I open it up? No? All right. Anybody online have anything on items not on the agenda? Anybody in the room? Jeanette?
So this is a small thing, but at town meeting, there was a lot of discussion about the 1% sales tax, and there was some confusion about it, and I thought I was right at the time, but I didn't say anything because, you know, I don't like to say anything unless I know what I'm talking about. Not true, but so there was a question from a young woman who suggested that maybe we could just tax out-of-town people, and kind of everybody went, that won't work. We actually can. The statute says that a town can impose any one or all of the following: a 1% sales tax, 1% on meals and alcoholic beverages, and 1% on rooms only. So we could do it on rooms only. I just thought I'd clear that up. And there are 3 towns currently that do it on on rooms only, and that's Londonderry, Elmore, and Wardsboro.
Okay, good
Just
to
for your
know
information.
for next go around.
Mhm.
All right, thank you. Are there other comments in the room on items not on the agenda? Any other last minute comments online? Going once, going twice. All right, moving on to the town manager's report.
Oh, I do have one of those today.
Okay.
Highway report, so River Road, Hickory Ridge, East Putney Brook, South Pine Banks, Town Farm, Cemetery and Warden Road have all been graded in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The buses are running on South Pine Banks and East Putney Brook Road. There was a little miscommunication, that's all straightened out. Putney Mountain was taken care of in West Hill a few weeks back. I did travel in the last 2 weeks just to check things out, so I think I will continue to do that for a little bit.
Okay.
But
And you made it
overall-
back, so that's good.
Yeah, and I did, yes. So we're preparing for 2 projects, Westminster Road Box Culvert and River Road South, the paving project. So those are gonna get started. Hopefully we can notify people if there's like, slow traffic or stop traffic, or try to keep people out of the construction zone. I submitted reimbursement on Parkman Wood Road for the emergency work to FEMA. The permanent work was sent to mitigation department for review, so I'm waiting on a response. And we're looking at putting in a box culvert up there. So
Okay.
most of that'll be covered by FEMA. So that's a work in progress. The hydrant on Route 5 in the corner of Christian Square, the hydrant finally was delivered from Bennington.
Okay.
Took a while, so that scheduled work may happen next week. And we're still trying to chase down the driver that ran it over. So the state police are still working on that. I filed a claim with VLCT Passive, and I'm hoping that we'll get a report and we can go after the driver for damages. KRT reappraisal update. So residential properties have all been done at this time, and if any were missed, because nobody was there, they're gonna call back and try to reschedule. They're currently doing commercial right now, and they hope to have those done by the end of March.
Okay.
And then everything's being put into Patriot database.
Good.
So it looks like they're on target.
Good.
And then, the valuation piece will get completed in April. Don't ask me what that means, but, hopefully we can lodge with some new numbers. We'll see what that looks like.
Okay.
So, when we get that completed, I'll probably have the listers come in and
That would be great.
talk to the board about it.
Yep.
Because I don't like trying to explain something I don't understand. So I have an update on the fire department, but we can address that under item 9B.
Okay.
And I currently have 3 zoning applications on my desk to review, and I also have 3 DRB decisions that need to be finalized and mailed out by next week. Closing for Cooper's Field. I need to get with Larry and figure out when we can schedule that. But the sooner the better. And I will try to do my best to maybe get that in 2 weeks. I don't know. I
That would
can't.
be good. His scheduling is probably the least flexible of the bunch of us, so
Mhm.
we'll dance to his tune, I guess.
Okay. I'll put a strong arm on him. Wish me luck.
If you can manage to do that.
No, I fail every time, but it's okay. The rec league just informed me that the president has resigned and Rebecca Jilson will be done after baseball season. So the league needs town support right now.
Mhm.
To, take them under our wing and try to keep supporting the programs for youth sports.
Okay.
That'll transition eventually, but I don't know what that looks like yet. The pool is starting to be active,
Wow.
so this is about the time that swim lessons get advertised and people are wondering about swim camps, and that's enough to pull your hair out. It's like, ugh. But having a town rec department, this would all be managed under that
Mhm.
and not through my office. I am announcing that I am taking vacation. Take note, April 5th through April 14th. I will not be in Vermont, I am disconnecting, so
Okay.
if you need something,
So if I get emails from you, I'm going to be mad.
you won't be getting emails
Okay.
from me, because where I'm going, I'm not.
Okay. I'm holding you to it.
Okay,
Okay. Is
and
that
that's
it?
all I have.
All right. Any comments on the select board? Questions about the town manager's report? Peg? Any comments in the room or questions about the town manager's report? Any comments online or questions? Hearing none, let's move on to boards, committees, and commissions, discussion and action. The first one is the Wilson Wetland Stewardship Committee volunteer appointment, which is Mary.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
In your packet, you have a letter from Cynthia Major.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Cynthia Major.
Hello.
And Cynthia lives just east of Cooper's Field.
Yeah.
And she has lived on that road for a long time, and
Okay.
Nate, I know you walk there a lot. Cynthia does too, and I do. So,
Seen her around.
so Cynthia has applied to be on the Wetlands Committee, and we are asking that she be appointed. She'll be a great resource for us and has helped us in the past. Not just, this isn't just a one. So we're excited that she's interested to be on it.
Great. Does somebody want to read this letter into the record? Besides me? Nate? I'm nominating you. All right.
Dear Karen, Mary Quinnan and Carrie have nominated me to serve on the Wilson Wetlands Stewardship Committee. I'm very interested in being a part of protecting this vital resource for our town and the local wildlife who live there. I have talked with Mary and Ann about committee's goals and would like to be part of the decision-making process around the wetlands management and protection. I have volunteered for the committee in many ways over the years. I have helped organize beaver rescues at the General Store Dam, move sticks out of the culverts, been a part of the neighborhood watch during times of illegal beaver activity, hunting, harassment, and more. On my daily walks through the wetland, I take great pleasure in observing the wetlands' birds, beavers, muskrats, and other wildlife. I also enjoy talking with the neighbors and out-of-town visitors who stop to observe the abundance of wildlife in this wonderful wild open space. I'm interested in joining the committee as a neighbor, a local steward, and a Putney community member. I am traveling on February 15th. I may not be able to make it to this month's select board meeting, but I will do my best to be there via Zoom.
So I guess that means this was submitted a
Right.
while ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so, thank you for that letter. Does the select board have any questions for Cynthia or Mary?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I've known Cindy for years and I couldn't make a better appointment.
Okay, that's quite an endorsement. All right. Peg, do you have anything to say?
Not until we vote, and then I'll have my say.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Are there comments online about the potential appointment? Any comments in the room? Any further discussion among the select board? Can I hear a motion to appoint Cynthia Major as a onto the Wilson Wetland Stewardship Committee?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to appoint Cynthia Major to the Wilson Wetland Stewardship Committee. Is there any further discussion on the board? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You said aye, right? Okay. All right, Peg.
Okay, so Cynthia, I'm saying welcome to you from the select board, and we have a tradition when people join onto a committee that we have a gift to give you. And if I were there, I would give it to you now, but I'll drop it by your house sometime, okay? I walk past your house all the time, so you'll find something on your front porch. And
I just saw it. It's a great bag. Thank you.
Nate spilled the beans. All right. All right, moving on to the Sacketts Brook and Sandhill Wetland Assessment Public Hearing Notice. That's also Mary.
Yes, I understand Jane Collins was here last time,
Yes.
and I guess it doesn't hurt to make an announcement again.
Mhm.
In 2023, we received a grant from the Vermont Flood Resiliency Fund.
Right.
And it was for $30,000, and to study the wetland from the northern border of the school, the Sacketts Brook, Andy gotta help me. Sacketts Brook wetland down to the town dam, and we hired Fitzgerald Environmental Associates, and they have been working on a study. We have posted their final draft. It's not the final report, but the final draft. And that's what they will be presenting at the meeting on the 18th of April at the library. And we welcome and actually look forward to having any of you on the select board be there.
Yeah.
We look through here. They wanted us to recommend 3 out of 11 options in terms of for study, because they couldn't do all of them. So the 3 of them all relate to Sand Hill Road in particular in terms of flood resiliency.
Okay.
And you folks voted on it on the 29th of November. So we're looking forward to what they have to say. You can go on the Wilson Wetland Stewardship Committee page and look at the Sacketts Brook and Sandhill Wetlands Assessment, and you'll see their latest reports.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
so that's basically it.
Okay.
So thank you, and I'll be going home and watching you online
That sounds.
with Robin.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Before you go, is there any comments on the select board? questions? Any comments online? Everybody heard the date, April 18th. Did you say a time?
6:30.
6:30
Oh,
at the
6:30
Yeah.
at the library. So everybody come hear that report. Any comments in the room about about this hearing?
Is that actually a hearing?
It's
It's a presentation.
a presentation. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It says hearing on my notes
Well,
here.
yeah,
I thought it was a public hearing.
no, it's a presentation.
Just a presentation.
We
so-
will be asking you to, at the end of the grant, we need to choose one of the
Yeah.
3 items.
Yeah.
And I guess that would more be.
And that would then be like, then they would issue a final report on that particular one. Is that the idea?
Yeah,
Or
we would,
we would
after they finish the report, then it just falls into our hands.
gotcha. All right.
As the town, as part of the grant, what they have asked, that's the last part of the grant, and they ask you to choose one,
Okay.
and then we would then
Close out the grant.
close out the grant and hopefully
We
get
don't necessarily have
another
to
grant.
do that one. We just have to choose it.
Yes,
Okay. Sounds good.
so thank you.
I love how grants work.
For your
Okay.
Support.
Okay. Now I think you can go. All
All
right. Thank you. All right. So the next piece is the Planning Commission status report, which is Stokely.
Where can I stand that works for the coverage?
That's fine here.
That's okay, and I apologize for my back to you all. Sue Coakley, Chair of the Planning Commission. This is my monthly report. We skipped February because we were all very busy on many things, and I had my vacation. But Planning Commission status is number 1. The Planning Commission is down 1 member. We're a 5-member commission. Robin Ekstrom finished his term. We have not recruited. I can recommend somebody to fill that position. At the back of your packet there, you will see a 2-page piece that's about the Planning Commission, what it does, and information about the role of the Planning Commission. This is useful information for recruiting someone to serve on the Planning Commission. So I do have additional copies that I can leave behind here. We appreciate your help to find qualified individuals that can help us with a very big workload this year. And we will continue to work on that ourselves. Secondly, I just wanted to return to a topic that we visited in February, which was the Putney Landing Walkway Scoping Study. I appreciate the Select Board's approval of that study. The grant is in the process of being closed. The final documents are going back and forth. Thank you, Karen, for your attention to that. We did leave, the Select Board did leave on the table a discussion of next steps. Public comment was still coming in. A very busy agenda of many other things, but I wanted to remind us all that that's still an open topic. V-Trans does have grant opportunities to move forward some of the recommendations, so I wanted to encourage the Select Board to get that on the calendar sometime, and the Planning Commission is ready to assist in any way with that. So just keeping that on the table as an open topic. My next topic is just to say that the Village Center and Neighborhood Development Area Designations applications were approved. There were no extensions at this time. It was simply a renewal. It was very nice to have a letter of support from Discover Putney for that. And it was such a clear application that it just was on the consent agenda for the Development Review Board, and it was done in the first 5 minutes of their meeting in February. So that is nice to know. Secondly, more updates about the town plan implementation. Thank you to the Select Board for your funding for the zoning bylaw modernization project. After 2 attempts to get funding from the state and not succeeding, it's very important that that funding was provided. We're moving that project forward. I'm happy to announce that today a project website went up. Thank you to Rachel Ryan who made that possible.
Right.
And listed there is a nomination form for an advisory committee that we're forming and an information page sheet about the project. We are seeking individuals to bring a range of perspectives and representations that are detailed in the nomination form. I won't go into it. I have copies available here. Similarly, we have for the Housing Needs Assessment and Action Plan, again, thank you to the Select Board for the ARPA funding, the complement of funding. So that project can move forward. We are also seeking nominations for participants in our Project Advisory Committee for that as well. Somewhat different set of perspectives we're looking for and representations appropriate to each project. But we're seeking that. We're looking for nominations by next week. If we don't have sufficient nominations, giving some delays in trying to get this available publicly, we could extend the date. But we're really hoping to kick off our first advisory committee meeting for the housing study by the end of April. And our intent, and we delayed both projects a little bit because we wanted to coordinate not only the advisory committee process, but also we will be issuing RFPs for expert consultants. These projects will be happening along the same time frame. There's some staggering of them, but it would be beneficial to have one firm bid on both. So we wanted to be able to engage the advisory committees, get input on the RFP that we're preparing, and then issue them in May and select consultants, one or more, in June to begin the work in earnest in July. So we had to slow down a little bit to get them aligned, but that's what we're doing. And we welcome anyone who's listening here. These are now both available as project web pages that you can access right from the home page. Thank you again to Rachel. Notices at the top, and there's web pages that have the nomination forms. And instructions are there. Another major effort over the past couple of months has been following up on Putney's recent ability to apply for Municipal Technical Assistance Program.
Oh, yes.
We were newly qualified for that for this year. You might remember back in December, technical assistance list that I reviewed with you that we sent to the Wyndham Regional Commission. And last week, I was pleased to learn that Wyndham Regional Commission has assigned consultants to help towns apply for that assistance. And the consultant assigned to Putney is Gretchen Haverlock, who's very experienced and knowledgeable. So it's great. I did meet with Gretchen yesterday, jumped right on this, went over the list and talked about project priorities. In consultation with Karen, one of the top priorities is the town hall renovation project. We're moving forward to get funding. Again, thank you to the Select Board for the seed funding for that. We really need a project manager to make sure the project comes together effectively. So we've asked for that, for the technical assistance, but Gretchen will provide assistance on all projects on that list. I added to that, at my own suggestion, technical assistance to Putney because of the Putney paper mill closure and economic development assistance. So she's aware of that. She will provide recommendations for all of those things in terms of contacts and funding and possibly help us access funding. We can get up to $100,000 out of that MTAP program, which is a new resource for Putney. So that's wonderful. The Planning Commission invited our sole representative to the Regional Commission, Steve Dotson, to meet with us to coordinate how we access Wyndham Regional Commission resources, and that was very fruitful, and so we're moving that forward as well. I want just a couple of words. I serve on the Town Hall Renovation Project Development Committee with Karen and also Lisa Papazian. And we've been very busy trying to seek funding. You'll be hearing more about that later, but we've been assisting proposal to the Vermont Community Development Program for project planning, the MTAP technical assistance for project manager, and also just today I sent materials to the Wyndham Regional Commission to include it as a regional project priority in the Vermont Climate Pollution Reduction Grant. They're asking for regional priorities, and so that's going on the list and going to Montpelier and hopefully going to Washington for federal funding. I suggested that we could use help with the full construction cost of the town hall renovation.
Okay.
We will see if that gets to the top. On the Putney paper mill closure, the Planning Commission did talk about that. talked about that there are a number of concerns near and long term for economic and community development impacts here. I know you're concerned as well. We talked about the need to access resources to be able to assist the recovery. And we talked about importance of town coordination with the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation and the Wyndham Regional Commission to bring resources and expertise. Certainly it has been suggested that as soon as the dust settles enough that there be a summit held by BDCC and the Wyndham Regional Commission to talk about the resources that are available, to learn from other communities who have been through this, and there are resources to do that. Finally, in that, we just discussed that a strategic initiative could benefit by coordinating with the town of Dummerston, as half of the retired Soundview assets or assets being retired are in Dummerston.
That's
and
right.
so
Yep.
there may need to be a coordinated effort to try to address this. So we just wanted to pass that along. We're aware, we know it's not quite time, but the Planning Commission is tracking this and ready to be of assistance and to help get resources if that's desired for the town. Finally, I will note that in implementing the town plan, we didn't quite have time to do a strategic dissemination of the town plan. It still needs to get around, as well, talking about implementation tracking. And my thought is this could be a good administrative conversation with the select board about best ways to do this rather than trying to do this in a select board meeting.
Sure.
So just make a request that maybe we can find a time to coordinate that, because I think the Planning Commission would like to do that with the select board in terms of what to do and how to do it.
Okay.
And you will see that there is a status report of all our projects in this packet. I won't go over it, you can read it for yourself. But we are keeping a tick list of the things that we are to do. We review this quarterly at the Planning Commission, and with some mighty efforts, we are moving everything along. It will be very helpful. I'll close with the fifth commissioner who can bring some more help to the effort. Any questions?
No. So, well, yes. The answer is yes. So you mentioned the walking scoping study.
Yes.
What time frame are you thinking? Like next select board meeting, or?
I think if we addressed it in May would be sufficient.
Right.
But
So,
that's my thought.
17, that would be May 1st. Well, the first meeting in May is May 1st, I think. Did I do that right?
Yes.
May 1st, May 15th, you wanna just pick a date, looking.
And
I
then the 29th, you get three in May.
May.
Three in
So-
May. Yeah, start, beginning and end.
Alright, so let's
Yeah.
arbitrarily pick May 15th.
Let's do that.
Okay.
I think that
So
would
if
be
you could
very
put that
good.
in
And then please let us know if there's anything else we can do
Yeah.
to prepare for that. We're happy to spend time doing a little further research if that's appropriate, just to make that a productive meeting.
Yeah, I think there were a number of questions that we just needed to have answered about
Right.
what we could go out for versus what they would require us to do on that stretch. Like how much of that they would need us to build in order to get grant funding. I think that was my main question. There might have been others, but
Yes.
so we can talk about that offline.
Yeah, I would be happy to have further conversation to prepare for that.
Okay, and then I had another well, it's more of a shout out to the public. If anybody wants to be on the planning commission, please consider it. It's I was on the planning commission for a while. It's pretty fascinating. It really is a lot. You get into a lot of different things, and touch base with Sue if that's something that you might be interested in. I noticed that it says specifically that they'd like to have a clerk, but I think you'd probably be okay with somebody that doesn't have
That is right.
minutes.
We've actually budgeted for administrative assistance because we have so many projects. We actually do need clerical assistance
Yeah.
to meet open meeting law requirements. So
And Robin was phenomenal as a minute taker, so I'm not sure anybody in town
he is phenomenal.
could take those shoes.
Yes.
Anyway, those were my two comments. Are there more comments or questions on the board? Peg, do you have any questions or comments?
Just my comment to say thank you to Robin for all the work that he did over the years. Yeah, he will be missed.
Yes, he will.
He already is.
All right, are there any comments online about the Planning Commission report? Any comments in the room? All right, hearing none. Thank you very much, Sue.
You're staying, right?
I'm staying.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, next thing is select board items, new business, and this first one on the list is the Connecticut River Hydro relicensing comments, which are due by April 22nd, 2024. That's my birthday, just so everybody knows. Which is Anne.
Yeah, this is really just a repeat announcement of the
Yeah.
announcement that was made before,
Right,
that individuals as well as the Select Board and/or Conservation Commission can make comments directly to the Federal Regulatory Committee, which is FERC, which is going to decide whether or not to relicense the hydro dam owners. In our case, we're most affected by the Vernon Dam because the Connecticut River gets the backwaters from that. The only other piece of information for individuals that feel threatened by making a comment to a federal regulation group, the Connecticut River Conservancy is going to have hours in their office where you can connect them via Zoom. They will help you craft your comments, and they are also willing to help you go through the application form and make sure it's correct.
oh, that's nice.
And if anybody wants to get that, I asked Rachel if she could put it on the town website, but if not, she can just put my email address in the minutes of this meeting, and I can forward the information and links to you if you're interested in making a submission.
Okay.
And the Conservation Commission will be discussing if we're going to suggest anything at our next meeting on Tuesday. If
Okay.
anyone wants to attend that, and sort of if you're in the environmental or recreational category and want to make suggestions, feel free to come to the
All right.
Conservation Commission meeting next Tuesday, 6 o'clock here.
Okay. So I guess that brings it back to the board. Is the board interested in possibly coming up with any comments? I seem to recall there was possibly an opportunity for us also to ask for things. Is that process, or is that
Excuse me?
ask for things like access to the river and
that's
so
the
that's
idea.
that's our opportunity to
Right.
Yes.
to do that. So is that something that the board feels that I personally would like to spend some time on this, but I haven't had time to look at it. What's the board's feeling? Put it on
I
the
second what you said. I personally don't know a lot about it, but I would like to take a look at it.
Okay, so you want to put it as an agenda item for April 3rd and see if we can come up with a unified comment? Does that sound fair?
Sure.
Karen, can you
4-3.
do that? Yeah. Are there other comments about any comments about the comments online? Anybody in the room? Ann?
Yeah, the Conservation Commission could bring its recommendations at that point to the.
That would be great.
appropriate as well.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, any other comments on this? All right, moving on to the Vermont Community Development Program Grant Application Resolution. That's you, Karen.
So in your packet is the BCDP Planning Grant 2023. It's draft format. With that, there is hang on just a second. And I'm sure you didn't read through this, it's not complete. There's a Wyndham Regional Commission support letter for the town hall planning grant application. There is a support letter from the Putney Historical Society. There is a support letter from the board, which would require a signature from the chair. And there's a resolution for the VCDP grant application and a notice of public hearing. So that's just part of this application that Sue Coakley, Lisa Papazian, and myself are working with Haven House, the grant writers.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah.
they're assisting us with this application. It has to be submitted by April 9th,
Alright.
which it also requires a public hearing, which had to be noticed 15 days from today, although the 15-day mark starts tomorrow. So there will be an extra meeting for the select board on April 4th. It will be a public hearing. So basically, we will have a finished application or near to for the community to review
Okay,
and for the select board to either approve or not approve for us to move forward. So this grant is $60,000 and I forget what it was for, Sue. It's for planning. And hang on a minute.
Karen,
Go ahead.
if I may, it will be for required environmental review that has to
Correct.
be done. It will also be to develop a detailed construction design. We have a feasibility assessment, but we don't have a construction drawings. And those are essential to really get a good firm cost and to identify options of what would be top priority and what might not be. So this would be to fund that, and those are the key activities that this would support.
Right, so preliminary and final architectural drawings, the historic preservation review, asbestos and hazardous materials inventory, and to develop a firm cost estimate for the work required. So as you know, we've been trying to work this, but this is a really big project and 3 people we have way too much to do.
sure.
So, working with the grant writers also, we've been pulling in different grants and funding. And our hope is to at least have half of the funds through grants and maybe fundraise some and see what happens, but.
Okay, so first of all, I guess this public hearing has already been established. So hopefully
Yes.
everybody can make it. Was it not on my calendar?
No, that.
Yeah, can I have, what is the date and time again?
April 4th at 5:30. It's a Thursday.
Thursday night.
Okay,
Can at least 3 of us make that day?
I can make it.
Okay, I might have a carpooling issue, but I might be able to pull it off. What time? 5:30?
I can
Yes.
make it.
Alright, so as long as 3 of us can be there, that's good. As far as this resolution is concerned and the letter of support, do those need to be done today or can they be done on April 4th?
So I want to just comment, Sue, because I'm leaving on the 5th. I would like to see the resolution signed tonight, so I can have the town clerk notarize it. And also the letter of support from the select board, I don't see any harm signing it tonight. That way we already have it, we can get it in the packet. Cause you're gonna have to submit the application. So,
Okay, so what's the purpose of the hearing then? Are we gonna be making a decision that day?
so basically it's to get community input, about the project. So, and yes, I mean, we need an approval to move forward from the board.
Okay. So I'm just trying to think, I'm trying to figure out this process. So you would like us to approve the letter of, the letter of support and the resolution for the grant application tonight, and then on April 4th, we're gonna take in public commentary and then vote to continue to approve the grant,
To submit the
to
grant.
submit the grant, that's the
Yes.
process?
Yeah.
Okay, so can I hear a motion, do I need to read this into the record for somebody? The
It's,
letter of interest, the letter of support,
so it is in the packet online. I mean, if you wanna read it, you
I don't
can.
particularly, but
No.
does anybody feel the need to read that in for the record? Okay. Okay, so, can I hear a motion to, approve the letter of support, as written with myself as the signatory?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the letter of support as written with myself as a signatory. Are there questions or discussions among the board? Any comments in the room about the letter of support? Any comments online? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, any opposed? Sorry, I keep forgetting to wait. All right, so that's done. So is that in our package?
But can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Peg.
Okay, if this meeting is meant to solicit public input, what can we do to make sure the public is aware of it? Can we get it on on the front page of the website at least? What else can we do to let folks know?
We can put it on social media, Facebook page,
Great,
Instagram.
cool.
iPutney.
Great.
We have our
Great.
sandwich board out front.
It's apparently, is this been already noticed? This has been in the paper already?
Yes.
So it's already been put in the paper.
Yep.
Okay. I just want to use whatever systems we have easily available to us to get the word out.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so the next piece is to approve or adopt the resolution for the VCD grant application authority. Again, this is in our packet, so we're not going to read it into the record unless anybody needs us to. Can I hear a motion to adopt the resolution for VCD grant application?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the resolution for VCDP grant application. Is there further discussion among the board? Peg, do you have any questions? Okay, any comments online? Any comments in the room? Sue?
I'll just make one comment. I just want folks to know that the public hearing, and I know this is about the resolution, but the public hearing will actually be a time to get input. I'll be prepared to consider, are there tweaks to be made to the grant application to reflect that input? So I just don't want there to be the sense that there's not going to be any opportunity to change it.
Yeah.
We have a couple of days to submit it. Even if Karen won't be here, we will
Still do it.
we will do that. And I just wanted to make a public statement that we're listening. And if we get some input, that would change or just inform, I think, the project, we'll certainly consider that.
Okay.
And it will certainly be a good opportunity for the community to learn more about what this project is, and we'll come prepared to talk about that.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks for that comment. Are there other comments in the room? All right, hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, so we're done with that one, right?
Thank you.
The next one is the request for VCT, is it the same thing? No. Request for VCT Community Development Program funding, Select Board support letter, or is that the same?
That's
That
the
was the
one you
same
just
thing.
did.
That's the one I just did.
Yep.
All right. Oh, I see. I did them backwards. All right. Anyway, Select Board reappointments for boards, committees, and commissions. This is something we do every year.
So in your packet
Go ahead,
is,
yeah.
2 pages of names for different boards, committees, and commissions, and this, you can vote on this as a slate to move all these people, because they have responded to us and they do wanna continue. And then I can tell you how many seats are open.
I move the slate.
You move the slate? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the slate of committee members for another term, which is a year. Most of these are years, right?
That
1
is
year?
correct.
All of them are 1 year. Does any select board member have any comments or questions? Okay.
I do. I'm confused by the chart that I have in front of me because it has under planning commission, the only name listed there is Robert, is Robin Ekstrom, right? But he's off. So I'm not quite sure what we're voting on.
I believe we're voting on the ones that say renew.
Right. Because all the other
Okay, got it.
terms.
Got it. The others are already on. They don't need to be renewed. The ones who are continuing.
That's correct.
Yep.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion on the board? Any comments in the room about this, the slate of committee members to be appointed for a year? Anyone online? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next is the Emergency Management Director appointment discussion. Karen? Oh, did you want to talk about the open positions first?
The open seats.
Yeah. You want to I can read these down.
Yeah, why don't you do that,
so
because there's quite a few.
Yeah, so this is another shout out to the community. If you'd like to get involved in your town government, we've got several different committees you can sit on. So we have 3 seats for the Conservation Commission. We have 1 seat for the Development Review Board alternate. So the alternate would sit in case there was either somebody who needed to recuse themselves or was absent. 1 Senior Solutions Advisory Council representative, 2 seats on the Wilson Wetland Stewardship Committee. That's still true, I assume.
That might
Now
be
there's just 1.
Yes, 1.
1 Wyndham Solid Waste Management District representative, 1 seat on the Wyndham Regional Commissioners. That's a very important seat.
Yeah.
1 seat on the Connecticut River Joint Commission, 1 Tasticate Subcommittee, 1 seat for DB Fiber. That's also very important. 3 seats for the Equity and Inclusion Advisory Committee, 1 seat for the Planning Commission, 1 Health Officer, and 1 District 13 Ambulance Committee rep.
Correct.
Okay, so if you have any interest in those or you want to know more about them, please contact the town hall, either Karen or you can contact me. I can direct you to the right place if you'd like. It's fun and interesting, and Peg always has something for you if you join. Go ahead, Peg.
I think I would like to ask Karen to ask Rachel, please, like for each one of these, like let's do a post, let's do a Facebook post, let's break them up into pieces so that people who might be interested in something can actually see what it is. So I would just like to make that recommendation that we use our social media to individually market each of these.
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
We'll work on
Thank you.
that.
Thanks.
All right, so now we're going to talk about the Emergency Management Director appointment discussion.
Right, so with the fire chief resigning, the emergency management director is an appointed position by state statute. If we don't have anyone, it falls to the select board chair. So I do have a recommendation to consider Tom Goddard. to at least, the local emergency management plan is due in April. It's due annually. It's a matter of updating contact names. I don't believe there's, any major changes to the content. But Tom's been very good with the emergency management director. He was recommended by Dave Emery. So that is a consideration unless someone else wants to step up.
Well, the select board chair does not want it. What does the board think about appointing Tom?
You have a hand up.
Okay.
Out there.
I've got the board first. Is there any comments on that? Online, Heather?
Yeah, can we maybe discuss what is expected out of an emergency management director so that people know what they're applying for essentially?
Karen, do you have that?
I just have the state statute. So it is, which is it? Title 20, it's 20 VSA 6. And so you have to perform emergency management functions within the territorial limits of the town or city. Shall conduct such functions outside of the territorial limits that may be required pursuant to the provisions of this chapter and in accord with rules adopted by the governor. Each local organization shall develop and maintain all hazards emergency management plan, which is the local emergency management plan that's
The one
due
they were
every
just talking
year.
about, okay.
Regional emergency management committees shall be established by the Division of Emergency Management, which does not apply. So, yeah, a lot of it's regionally based, but we can post this on our website. Or you can look it up, but I'm not quite sure what else Tom did under the emergency management director.
All right.
Other than, like if there's a storm too, that is stuff that the emergency management director, puts into play. And you folks over here can speak up anytime because I'm not an expert on this.
Cool.
So,
Right.
um,
Within reason, I have to call on you, but yes, you can, please do.
but, so if there's an emergency in town, like, a storm where we lost 13 roads,
That's the,
that person gets all his people together.
they're
and
the
then
point
they're-
person or?
Point person, yeah, like a command, an incident command, person.
Okay.
So, and I don't know what else he did under emergency management director.
All right. I do have one thought that I do have is that we do have an appointment policy, which I don't have in front of me right now. So it might be good to follow that. Peg, do you remember what our appointment policy says off the top of your head?
Isn't it in that book?
Ah, the book. Rachel made a book for us. Hold on. Janice, go ahead. Janice, you have your hand up?
Oh, me, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I thought you said Dennis and you were looking up. Mike, just a short question. So is this a people management role? This officer, would he be managing the EMT people and the people that he would need to, enlist in emergencies?
Right.
You said he was a point person, but is he the person directing and actually managing staff during an emergency?
I would say yes.
Okay.
So, just for more clarity, the executive officer or legislative branch of the town or city is authorized to appoint a town or city emergency management director who shall have direct responsibility for the organization, administration, and coordination of the local organization for emergency management, subject to the direction and control of the executive officer or legislative branch. So that's pretty much, that's a lot. And it all depends on the incident.
Yeah, dude.
I'll have,
Elaine, do you want me to kind of speak to that a little bit?
Go ahead, yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to find this, but I'm not finding it.
Chris Manel, basically the emergency management director is a coordination position. It's not individual incident mitigation, which that would be up to the fire chief, but it's coordinating resources outside of just the fire department, just the EMS services that we need. It's coordinating with the highway department in a major disaster type situation.
right.
Which could go anything from the general store fire was an example. Tom wore all those hats kind of for us and did it spectacularly and would do very well in the position. So.
I was just wondering who, with the oil spill that happened in Sacketts Brook, what was his role at that point? Or what would this person's role be in mitigating the gasoline or oil spill?
Yeah, so a lot of that is coordination with state agencies, the company involved, as well as working with the fire chief and the local resources and state hazmat team. It's basically an additional layer. He just kind of combined it all into one position and took it all on himself. So.
That explains a lot.
All right. So I did find our committee membership policy, and it actually just applies to advisory committees, so I'm not sure we really need to follow that. We do have an appointment policy, which asks a member to communicate their interest to the select board verbally or in writing. Do we have anything from Tom on that? What is the select board's feeling about this?
He did say, he would do it, but I don't have anything in writing.
Is there a urgency to the matter?
Probably not.
Other than,
Because we're gonna be in the same situation with the health officer, so. And also the, District 13 Ambulance Committee representative.
I mean, I guess the urgency is that, as this chair has stated, the chair does not want it. Hold on for 1 second, Peg.
Yeah, that was really helpful, the explanation. I just wonder if there's reasons to situate this position with the chief, or reasons to not situate this position with the chief. Whoever that chief is. Like, I would like to hear more about the pluses and minuses of those two things. And I feel like we need to hear from Tom, either in a letter or coming to the select board and expressing interest before I would feel comfortable moving anywhere on this.
Okay.
Is Tom online, maybe?
Is Tom Goddard available online?
No.
No? Okay. Heather?
I just wanted to speak to Peg's question in that when we just did this huge AP Triton assessment, they really suggested to start taking a lot of that off the fire chief as a role and start mitigating that out to, I think the ESD was supposed to be the town manager in their report. Just something to think about.
I'm gonna make a comment on that. I'm not qualified to do that, and I'm not gonna take that responsibility.
I'm comfortable with it staying with the select board chair for now.
Thanks a lot. So, I mean, I guess the upshot is that if we were to wait until April 3rd and something did occur between then and now, I would be in heavy communication with everyone on the fire department because I don't know what I would be doing, but we could do that. So maybe that's the best solution for now. there was a hand in the room. Anne, was it you?
I don't remember what I was gonna say. Yeah, I was just wondering if the fire chief's day-to-day doings give him day-to-day contact with the people that he would need to coordinate if one of these events arose, such as the transportation department or V-Trans, or I don't know, you name some others. Would he normally have interaction with them in his role as fire chief?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Most towns it is separate,
Right.
just because you have to mitigate the individual incidents
Yeah.
as well as worry about the big picture of the entire town when you have a town-wide event. This is not for like a single house fire. This is for larger scale
Got it.
disasters.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna start forgetting people's names because there's way too many people here, and this is Ruby. Okay, Ruby, hi.
Hi, Ruby McAdoo. I wanted to just acknowledge that during the COVID-19 crisis, I was a key volunteer with Putney Mutual Aid, which was a volunteer effort, not the mutual aid fire department, the mutual aid individuals, neighbors helping neighbors. And so I had firsthand experience of Tom in his role of emergency management coordinator. And I think there's absolutely wisdom of separating that out from the chief, because as you mentioned, when you're doing implementation and overview, there's a lot of balls in the air. But I won't be here at your next meeting when you're considering it, so I just wanted to speak really highly of Tom in terms of I think he is extremely well suited to having the historical experience in our town, and also like such deep connections. If we're hit with a crisis of the level that we experienced with COVID, that would be really critically important. And also that would provide an opportunity for a longer term kind of succession planning, moment with that particular piece, which although there isn't urgency right now, tomorrow there could be. And so I think I would hope that Tom shows up and asks for this position, because I think he'd be amazing.
Okay. All right, so I think it's the sense of the board that we would like to wait until April 3rd to make an appointment. If there are other people who are interested in the position, please send a letter of interest to Karen. And if we can get Tom to write something in writing, that would be really good.
Okay.
So we're gonna wait until April 3rd to make that appointment. That's what I got, right? Okay. Okay, so the next piece is the town health officer appointment.
So again, in your packet is this Vermont state statute online. And now I have some information from two different people now that this has changed, and the health officer now deals with dog bites and failed septic systems. So any rental units are with the state of Vermont.
Okay.
But I haven't found that language anywhere. So I'm a little confused by, and if I have to, I would go with the one that's printed and online at this time.
Maybe we should ask Mike Merwicki if the legislature's been up to something that we don't know.
Someone said January 1st, 2024 it changed, but
They don't always put the statutes, they don't always update the statutes as fast as one might like online, so it might be good to talk to.
I went through
Mike.
every act in this biennium of the legislature and didn't
You didn't
find
see anything?
Yeah.
So unless it's a regulatory change that
I don't know.
it didn't appear at the statutory
I
level.
think we need clarity on this to make sure we know what the responsibility is for the health officer, the local health officer.
We don't want those dogs getting away from us.
Well, we have the animal control
Yeah,
officer
exactly.
that deals with dog bites.
Dog bites,
But if
right?
it ever has to come, and then usually it comes to the select board
Right,
for vicious dog.
because we're not, because we're in charge of that.
So I'm not worried about that, it's the other pieces that we wanna make sure were covered.
I thought the state covered septics, but I suppose as an immediate health issue, that's.
I mean, they permit them for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know about it, what happens if they fail.
Yeah.
they probably can't be found anywhere. They give the permit and then they're out of town.
All right, so we need clarity on this.
Okay. This one's not quite as immediate, like, if there was a dog bite, it would go to the animal control officer,
Right.
and if there was a failed septic, it could. I don't even know what that, how
I don't know how many we've ever had since I've been here. I mean,
failed septics that you know about.
right. Usually the property owner calls a contractor.
Right,
Right.
right,
Yeah, and the permit goes to the state.
and it comes back, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
So it'd
problem-
really be more like your neighbors complaining about the failed septic.
The legal trigger really comes when the property gets transferred, because that's when, it's on the transfer tax return. You also gotta certify that it hasn't got a failed septic.
Right.
Right,
But
Right.
that's, if they don't turn around and sell the property, that's gonna fly under the radar.
Yes. A lot of things fly under the radar. Fletcher.
Well, it won't pass the smell test.
all right, there you go. All right, comments in the room, Bryce.
I have firsthand experience in the failed septic, only because I had a complaint against us in Westminster, and the town manager at the time, Russ Hodgkin, was their health officer, and he had the right to come in and immediately shut down a rental, given that the tenant had complained to him. And then the state they never, I don't know how true it was or not, but the state never sent us a letter, so I don't know if it was a bully tactic or not, but we hired an engineer who then came in, certified that there was nothing wrong with our septic, and then had the ability to then rent the property again. So the health officer also has the, even back then, this was 5-6 years ago, had the ability to come in and, make an immediate decision on a piece of property that was, say, being rented out.
Okay,
So I figured I'd clarify that a little bit.
okay, so,
The difference is a rental unit qualifies as a public building.
Right.
So there's all that state involvement. If a private residence septic fails, there's no big leverage there. I mean, unless we have an ordinance that a
not that I'm
health
aware of.
officer could enforce.
All right, so what is the implication of leaving this vacant until we have more clarity? I think you also threatened this on me.
Yeah, it falls on the select board chair.
I think
The
actually
town manager's not gonna do it.
the health officer position, it falls back on the commissioner of health.
That works
And
for
then
me.
the commissioner is supposed to appoint somebody,
Right.
but 9 times out of 10, I expect they'd appoint the town manager.
Yeah, that makes a lot
Maybe
of
they
sense.
appoint the select board chair.
I mean, okay, well, let's.
We'll figure that out.
Okay, so I think we need more clarity on that.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah, everything's gonna be all clear in 2 weeks.
Just
Ruby.
before I go to vacation.
I just wanted to let you know, I'm looking at the statutes online, and Title 18 is the health one.
Yeah.
It looks to me like there's, you appoint a health commissioner, and then the local health officer along with the board becomes the local health board. And the local health board is in charge of the sewer stuff, or the septic systems.
Okay.
So I can send links of that to you, Karen. But I think that, I don't say anything about dog bites, but I think that it seems clear, it's just not in the duties of the health officer, because it actually falls to the health board, which is a different function.
Different statute, okay, or different section, okay.
Yeah.
Bryce?
I just wanted to ask, is there anyone expressing interest in being the health officer? As of yet, like you had,
No, as of yet.
okay.
No.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, ideally we get letters of interest for that, but I think we also need to clarify exactly what the health officer is supposed to be doing, so hopefully we'll have that clarity by next regular select board meeting, and we can move forward with letters of interest if hopefully there's somebody in town who's willing to take that on, other than me. So are there any comments online? Peg, did you have any questions? Okay. Any comments or questions online about the health officer position? Any other comments again in the room?
Can I make one comment? I want to refer to Sue Coakley. So in our town plan, there is language around a health officer, correct? Or is it a building code?
a housing officer.
Okay,
It's a different thing.
but that's for code and
That's,
blight or,
it could be, the housing officer job is really meant to assist us in implementing housing solutions.
all right, never mind that. Okay. That's totally different.
Starts with
Yeah.
H.
All right,
Yeah, I'm sending you though some information I just found about health officers.
okay. All right. Any other discussion among the board about the health officer position? Gonna move that to, we'll get clarity by April 3rd. Okay, so the next piece is the State of Vermont Fire Safety Municipal Agreement Termination Letter. Karen?
So in your packet is the termination for the memo of understanding for the state fire safety inspector that Tom Goddard was doing. So, because we don't have anyone right now, the state has taken over those duties. In the future, once we're all settled back in, if there is somebody willing and qualified to do this, they will talk to us about another memo of understanding. But at this point, we have no one doing fire safety.
So what is this exactly? Is this when somebody's building a building and putting in
Yes, so
new
Tom,
construction? Is that what this is for?
so Tom Goddard was the fire safety inspector, and he would get plans, he'd do plan reviews. You know, like Putney School, right? They're building those dorms up there.
Yeah.
So he would go in ahead of time before construction, go through the plans, and then at different stages of construction, he would go in and inspect.
Yeah.
To make sure it was to the plans and the specs. He also was doing commercial rental units, going in and making sure everything was up to code.
Okay.
So it was quite a bit of work, and you know.
So the state, so if the state takes this over, do they communicate that information back to us? Or is it just in some kind of ether? Because I imagine, I've had some conversations with some folks on the fire department, and it's actually very helpful to know about a building's layout and what's there. It was my understanding that would make sense.
True.
So I'm wondering if that information from the state makes it back to the fire department. I'm getting nods. Okay, yes, good. All right.
So what triggers that too, so as zoning administrator, if I or the development review board issue a permit.
Yeah.
So a copy of the permit goes to the fire department.
Okay,
And
even
then-
now?
So they know what's happening, okay?
Yeah,
And then if it's a big commercial or educational building.
Yeah.
Then the state fire safety inspector would get involved. So I don't think it's every single building though.
It's buildings that meet occupancy requirements or certain requirements for the type of building it is. So it involves code enforcement around sprinkler systems and other fire suppression systems to make sure that they're in place and functioning Like with the paper mill closing, a lot of that code enforcement obviously felt to Tom with making sure that even though the mill wasn't running, the fire suppression systems were still active, and things like that.
And so, and I'm gonna ask a question of the fire folks in the room. So, as far as say like, somebody wants to put an ADU on their building, because there's a lot of interest in town about that right now, is that something that would trigger that inspection review, or is that?
So, right now, anything that the state is getting involved with,
Yeah,
we're getting copies of.
okay.
So, yep.
All right. Okay.
So there's a little more work added to the zoning administrator too at this point, because we don't have this agreement with the state now.
Okay.
So when someone comes in and asks for an application, I have to give them a brochure because it may trigger a construction permit through the state.
Okay.
So, and it's up to that applicant
To
to
do
contact the state. So that might be, you know, it
And
may
before-
happen, it may not. It's kind of like, you know,
And
septic.
before this, it went to the fire department, and it was kind of
Right.
magic that it
Right.
happened. Okay. Any other questions on the board? Comfortable with this solution right now?
We
Yes?
don't really have a choice with this solution right now,
Okay.
because Tom resigned.
Yes, but there's urgencies and there's urgencies, and if this was one of the ones that was more important, then we could put it on the top of the list. Peg, do you have any questions? All right, are there questions or comments online about the, one second, online about I've forgotten where we are, sorry.
Municipal agreement.
Thank you, the municipal agreement, I'm fading now, municipal agreement for fire safety. Any comments, or questions in the room? Fletcher?
Karen, the Tom, and my recollection is that Tom sort of handled the certificate of occupancy as sort of part of the same thing. But is that gonna get lost in the shuffle here? Because
Well, I can say in our zoning regulations, so anything that's permitted through the Development Review Board, the zoning administrator issues the certificate of occupancy.
But if somebody built a new residence on a lot they already own, would that go to the DRB?
No, not
So-
necessarily.
But it still would ultimately need a CO, a certificate of occupancy.
We've never done that in Putney on single-family homes, or at least since I've been here. So, yeah, they're agreeing with me, so. But, yeah, for single-family homes, we've never done that. But commercial, definitely.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about, because I've done a lot of title searches, and those are the kind of permit issues that'll hang you up forever.
Right. We're gonna be redoing our zoning, and there's a lot in there that needs to be updated. And certificate of occupancy is one. So,
Yeah, it was always kind of vague in the zoning reg, who was responsible for giving it and how you had to get it.
right. And, the other thing too, you have to be qualified to know
There's a lot
what
of
you're issuing,
A lot of electrical stuff that you have to be knowledgeable on.
Right.
Before you could look at this.
Yeah. Because that's a liability and a risk.
Yeah.
And I'm not willing to take that.
I'm sorry, what's your?
My name's Ian Dennison. I was just, the town, were you saying the town's never done certificates of occupancy? It wasn't clear to me. Because when I built my house 7 years ago, I had to get a certificate of, it's a whole single family home.
Did you have, Development Review Board?
No, I think.
Was Tom involved?
Yeah,
Well,
Tom,
then-
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't move in until we got the certificate of occupancy.
I have never
What?
issued a COO.
I think that there's been a lapse.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was about 7 years ago, but we couldn't move in until we got it.
Oh.
Yeah, and Tom definitely came to our house issue that or to inspect or something.
Well, thank you for sharing that, 'cause
I mean,
I was not aware of that.
I mean, it does sound like a good idea to get a certificate of occupancy
yeah.
before you move into your house.
Right.
So that's a little bit, I think that's a little bit off topic here. It sounds like we do need to revisit that as part of our zoning bylaws.
It's on the list.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a hand up. Elizabeth, is that Elizabeth? Can you identify yourself? Sorry.
Hi. Elizabeth Warner.
Hi.
I have one of the most recent public buildings. So I had both the state fire inspector or state electrical, state plumbing inspector, and then Tom all together looking at every single aspect of our electrical and plumbing prior to Tom issuing the certificate of occupancy per unit. So the state was involved in every step of the way for a public building. But we never had to do anything with a single family home necessarily in the past, but I highly recommend it given the number of fires that we have been seeing.
Okay, thank you. All right, are there other questions about the municipal agreement termination letter? We're good? All right, let's move on to the Green Mountain Power Distribution Line Upgrade and Relocation Letter.
So this
There's
is
two of
just
these, right?
for your information, folks. This is just getting started, but Green Mountain Power is, they may need easements from property owners. And this project's on West Hill. And Justin Mason had talked about this a while back. So this is like the second project. I'll be in touch with Bonnie Taylor if they need any easements from the town. And then the second project is on Route 5. So that one, I don't believe will impact us locally because it's a state road. But it's there in your packet as information.
All right.
So basically, Green Mountain Power is trying to upgrade their lines and relocate, and if they can put them underground, that's what they're trying to do.
That's what I was going to ask, because it does not specifically say that. It says mostly about respanning and replacing existing poles and replacing guy wires.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was a little bit confused because the last conversation we had with, what was his name,
Justin, yeah.
was that they were making a real effort to start to bury the lines so that they don't have to, so that the frequent storms that we've been having don't impact us as much. But you're saying that that's probably what part of the, if they can bury them, like if they don't run into ledge, they're
Right.
gonna try to bury them.
Right.
Okay,
And West Hill is kind of narrow anyway in some places, so.
yeah,
But this project is on their radar, it's now on our radar, and I will inform the board if Green Mountain Power comes to us, or United Utility, for an easement.
okay. Any comments on the board, or questions? Any comments, Peg? Any comments online about the easements, the Green Mountain Power easements on Route 5 in West Hill? Any comments in the room? All right, moving on to Selectboard Unfinished business. The next piece is the new ARPA applications. We have two existing ones that have sat for 2 weeks, as is appropriate to our policy. And then we have a new one from the East Putney Community Center, Pierce's Hall. Do we have a representative?
We do.
Pierce's Hall online?
No, for East Putney.
Hi,
Ian,
yes,
too.
go.
Yep,
Do you have a,
Yep, I'm Ian Diamondstone, I'm here, representing the East Putney Community Center. for people who don't know, there was $600,000 and some federal ARPA money that was given to Putney to mitigate COVID losses suffered by community programs. And Pierce's Hall, or that's how a lot of people know Pierce's Hall, but it's the East Putney Community Center, is a very vibrant community center in East Putney. For those of you who don't know, we have monthly potlucks and movie night. We had several food shelf pop-ups this past summer, and we had attendance of as many as 30 families. Some people even showed up on foot. So we feel like we're really serving a big part of the Putney community. And we've gotten funding for historical preservation. And Irene Canaris filled out the application. I'm assuming you all have a copy of that packet.
Yes.
With all the supporting documents. There's some testimonials from residents about, for instance, 40 years of contra dancing that's been going on there. And we have just resumed some things after the COVID hiatus, and we've started to be a little bit more active. There's dog training lessons on Saturdays, and anybody who wants to come to our potluck, it's this Saturday at 5 o'clock. And then 6 o'clock we're showing E.T. We have popcorn, and we've had some really nice turnouts. So all of the information here, I guess, do you want me to read all of these responses, or I'm assuming you all?
I read the packet
You did?
myself, so
Okay.
I don't need that.
Okay.
Any
All right.
highlights
Well,
you'd like to make?
Yeah. I think mostly, the summer pop-up for the food shelf, contra dances, yeah. We've had a few speakers, a few presentations. So right now what we're looking to do is we're looking to finance a heating system. We need $6,000 to replace the gas furnace, and we were hoping that those funds would come from this fund to help us cover that, because obviously it's a little bit difficult in the winter to have any sort of events if there's no heat. We actually did pretty well this past year. We told people to wear their coats, and we're Vermonters, so people just kept their coats on for some of the events, but it would be nice to have heat. So that's what the application's for. Thanks for all your hard work, and thanks for taking the time to read the application and consider it.
Thank you for submitting it. So how does the board want to proceed with this? I will note, and I know this got brought up before, that although Pierce's Hall fits probably most of the criteria here, they are not a municipal project, and they are not part of Group A for our community services appropriation policy, which was part of the criteria.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Are you talking about the number 2? The Putney,
Number 2.
We are part of the town plan?
No, I'm talking about, so one of the, in an effort to narrow the scope of who would be eligible for ARPA money that was not a municipal project, we decided to limit it to the social, well, what used to be the social agency policy, Group A, agencies, which at the moment are Putney Community Cares, Putney Community Center, Putney Place, Next Stage, I'm missing one.
Food shelf.
Food shelf, thank you.
Yeah.
So that.
You're saying that the community center has a different standing than the East Putney Community Center?
Yes, by virtue of the fact that they are in the social agency policy appropriations. That's the only distinction. I'm just putting that out there as that's one thing that you don't fit that criteria. That's all I'm saying. Nancy, Ann?
Yeah, I live in East Putney. I go to Pierce's Hall, and it's a joy not to have to drive 5 miles to get to something. The other thing I wanted to point out was that consistently over the years, the town, all the residents of Putney have voted to assure that Pierce's Hall is a building tax exempt building because of the activities occurring there and because of the population served. We are parts of Putney.
Yes.
Although sometimes we feel somewhat forgotten out there.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Eileen, can I speak?
Yes.
Yeah. We could go down this path, but I actually think it might be more useful that any proposal that comes to us has to wait 2 weeks anyways. So I feel like we've heard the positive things about Pierce's Hall, but I think I would suggest that we go to the 2 proposals that have waited the 2 weeks and review them, because the whole thing might be moot if we expend all of our ARPA money today. The ARPA money, the resolution says we'll spend it on a rolling basis, and the proposals that are in front of us right now, if we fund those proposals, we won't have any money left. So, so I would propose we first do the 2 proposals in front of us and decide what we're doing there, and let the Pierce's Hall sit for the 2 weeks and see if we're even in business with ARPA money anymore.
Okay. All right. So I have a hand up, Elizabeth.
I'm trying to understand, how is one community center versus another that seems to have similar services not qualifying?
All right.
Is there a process?
Yeah, I have the policy in front of me, Eileen.
Great.
Would you like me to read the resolution?
Yes, please.
Okay. This should answer the question. When we wrote the resolution, and it's been modified a couple different times, but as it stands right now, therefore be it resolved that the following guiding principles will be used when the select board allocates Putney ARPA funds. Funds will be allocated on a rolling basis. It is understood that not all worthy projects will be able to receive ARPA funding. ARPA funds will only be awarded to municipal projects or projects put forward by nonprofit organizations that are identified as Group A social service agencies per the town meeting. And that's where the difference is. That was a very specific identifying. It's not all the tax exempt nonprofits in town. It is those, we put it into the resolution that we would be awarding only projects that came either from the municipality or through those town meeting approved social service agencies.
Does that answer the question? And like Peg said, it's not that we wouldn't like to award money to every worthy tax exempt property or service in town. We needed to find a way to limit the scope of who would be eligible, and that's how we decided to do it.
In part, I want to say because we were trying to be responsive to what we had heard from the community up until that point in time, and that we were trying to take community feedback. And one piece of community feedback is the priority that the town at town meeting gives to particular agencies. And so we took that into consideration in drawing up the resolution way back when.
Elizabeth?
Is there a process by which an agency can be added on retroactively, and maybe some of these other proposals could have a reduced ARPA grant given to support East Putney, which seems to be like the poor little sister of the village?
I'd say that, it's a possibility, but like Peg said, we are waiting. We do, the policy also states that we would wait 2 weeks once we receive a application. And as she also pointed out, we have 2 applications that were received 2 weeks ago that have the potential of expending all the rest of the money. Jeanette?
So this may be a little bit off topic, but as someone who was trying to chair the ARPA committee when it was set up by the select board, I can tell you that it was a mess. It was really, really hard to try to figure out how to limit this so that you were funding the things that were the most important and setting some limits on who could apply and how the applications could. And with the 7 people on the committee, there were 7 different ideas of what the priorities should be. So whether we agree or disagree with the policy that was made by the select board did go through a process and had meetings about it, and they were open meetings. So I think that I would love to see the Pierce's Hall funded, but I think that the policy was developed to try to limit it, and we may agree or disagree, but the select board put in a lot of time and effort into coming up with that policy.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
can I
So,
just say one more
hold
thing?
on, Fletcher, did you have something that you needed?
No.
Okay. Go on.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for all that hard work that was put in. I realize it's a lot. But part of being here is also just to remind everybody that East Putney exists. Statistically, during COVID, East Putney was getting, if you look at the charts there in the back, there were 69 reduced and free meals being delivered to children in need during COVID, while the village, west and north total put together was about half that, or just a little over half that. So that it's just important to realize that there's more to Putney than just downtown.
It's absolutely, and I'm glad you guys are here today.
Thanks.
And I don't know if it will help. It won't help you for this year, and it may not help you for this process.
Yeah.
But if you are doing that kind of work, I encourage you to petition the select board to get onto that Group A tier in the future, because that would provide some income.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
If you were successful. I'm only speaking for myself, so. So do we want to go through this now? Yes? Did everybody have a chance to look at them and kind of grade them?
You brought them, right?
Yeah, I have them, yeah. I used whiteout on my rubric because I couldn't find a clean copy.
Should we think about maybe just tabling these till next week since it's getting late? I don't know how much more discussion we got ahead of us.
What does everybody else want to do?
Is there any-
But these have been on the table
Been on
for
the
2
table.
weeks,
Okay.
so I think
I did.
it's
Where
appropriate
did I
that.
do them? All right, well, I had a question, and I'm gonna say that for me personally, I feel that municipal projects are more important than the other projects. Not that the project that we have in front of us is not important, and it would definitely serve the public. And again, I think I've made my personal opinion that services that, in particular, Putney Community Cares and say the Food Shelf provide are services that, for whatever reason, the state has fobbed off to nonprofits because they used to be government services. So I do feel like that project is important. And with that said, so the amount of the request for the strategic plan and second floor construction, basically that's the left That's the amount that's left over.
Correct.
So,
And this is for the fire department, by the way.
right. So we have a recommendation to create a strategic plan, and we do want to eventually finish the second floor construction. Theoretically, if we shaved off the $12,000 that Putney Community Cares is asking for, would that still be a good chunk of money for either one of those projects?
Is it 12 or is it 27?
It's 12 is the request.
12 was the request, 27 was the whole thing.
That's what we want.
Okay.
So I would say yes, Eileen, and I want to make a comment. So Ruby and I met with Tom last week, and Ruby explained this program to Tom. And given the transition that the fire department is in currently, I feel that this nursing program would benefit the town of Putney as a whole. And I think it will bridge that gap until we sort out, the fire department and a full-time, a permanent fire chief.
Yeah.
So, I would endorse the community nursing program.
Okay. All right. What does the rest of the board feel
I'm in favor.
of the proposal? The one that I just...
Community nursing, yes.
Okay. Peg, what's your feeling?
I don't endorse the community nursing program for ARPA funds. Again, not that it's not a super important thing, but the reason why I wouldn't endorse it is because it doesn't meet a lot of the criteria that we set out for ARPA funds. We were really clear that we were really hoping for infrastructure projects and projects that did not, one of the criteria we have is the project a one-time expenditure without the need for ongoing funding and support. And I don't feel like this project meets that criteria. I just feel like it doesn't, I'm not seeing how it meets the criteria of revitalizing Putney's downtown or developing a community center or developing housing solutions, which are the community generated priorities that we built into this based on all the Vermont Council on Rural Development work that the community did. So for all those reasons, and the fact that we have given a very generous donation already, I actually wouldn't support the nursing, the community nursing program for ARPA funds. That's my opinion about that. And I kind of, in terms of the fire department, I feel like there's I feel like it meets more of the criteria than the other one does, than the nursing program does, particularly if the money is going to be used for finishing up the second floor of the building. But anyways, those are some of my opinions.
So I just want to comment, Peg. So we have an estimate of $30,000 right now, but that does not. There's some things not in that estimate, so it's going to cost more than $30,000. I do have a verbal second estimate from a contractor, and it's up near $100,000. So this money will help. It'll bridge the gap a little bit, but it's definitely not going to finish the second floor.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on the community nursing piece. as far as infrastructure is concerned, it's not hard infrastructure, but community health is definitely a basis of our well-being, and would.
Well, actually, we gave a definition of infrastructure, and we identified it as personnel, building, and equipment.
Yeah,
So,
I get that, and I put down somewhat, but
I was actually agreeing with you, Eileen, in saying infrastructure, personnel can equal infrastructure.
Gotcha. All right. And Ruby, is there a need for ongoing funding after? Can you answer that question?
So yes, there is, and
From the town?
Just to give some context around where Putney Community Cares is thinking about the community nursing program, I think that what we've heard from support organizations that we've been working with, particularly Community Nurse Connections, is that some towns actually have a line item in their budget to support the community nurse program or position. Some towns, the community nurse is an employee or a position within the town and not within an organization. Because of those things, what we see on the horizon is potentially coming and having a discussion with the select board or at town meeting about an appropriation for continued support specifically for the community nurse program. That's one, that would not fund the entire thing, that's one piece. I think that Putney Community Cares has expressed commitment to making this happen, and we have a pretty robust fundraising committee at this point that we have intentions of it ongoing. But yes, it does indeed, this is, and I tried to put this in the application, the rationale for putting this forward for ARPA funding is really because it's a critically important, we believe it's a critically important piece and of community health. And there are gaps that we see and that have been coming up, and this fills it. But the only way that we will actually, we have to establish and get our feet on the ground and get up and running in order to even have a fighting chance in terms of getting future funding.
Gotcha.
And honestly, the reason this was not, we focused on infrastructural things that were actually like physical infrastructure things in our first application, because that was our understanding. In the last cycle that of what you approved, Putney Place put forward things that were similar to this, and that they weren't
infrastructure,
and they were also something that would require ongoing support. So that opened up and changed how we thought about it, and that's why we put in a secondary application. And as you can see, it's about 44% of the overall budget. So it's we're trying to think of this as a way to leverage funding. We've gotten 5,000 has been awarded to us. The other 10,000 we won't know until May, and if we don't get that, the board I think is committed to finding other ways to fund it, even if it's out of the pockets of their our own coffers kind of. I don't know if that helps. And to speak to what Karen mentioned, we Putney Community Cares has had a long-standing kind of connection to the fire chief. We just, today or yesterday, reached out to Evan in terms of his role now, because we have a connection with vulnerable individuals in this town, particularly older adults, and we don't have a community nurse yet. We already are. Needing to initiate wellness checks. We have Meals on Wheels providers who go 3 times a week, and that initiates wellness checks periodically. A community nurse would be would elevate the opportunity for that collaboration to a different degree, because the fire chief actually has a different list of vulnerable individuals, some of which overlap with us and some which don't. And this is an opportunity to have the fire chief be able to lessen some of the ones that are less dire or are things that need some oversight, but maybe not the fire chief going in and checking every week or so, could become a community, something that is referred to the community nurse. And so that's what that future holds. And so that's because of that, that's why we see on the horizon a potential conversation with the town around how can the town, support this program ongoingly.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that the ARPA funding, this is not a significant amount. It is for this first year to get it on the ground and up and running.
All right. Peg, do you have your hand up?
I don't think so.
Oh, I saw something flash across the screen. Okay. What do the other board members think?
I'm still in favor.
You're still in favor? Are you still in favor? Are you still in favor?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Then can I hear a motion to allocate, I don't have it, it was 12,000?
12,000.
To allocate $12,000 to Putney Community Cares for the community nursing program.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to allocate $12,000 to Putney Community Cares, ARPA money for Putney Community Cares for the community nursing program. Is there further discussion on the board? Peg, do you have anything? Go
I
ahead.
do. I just want to go on record as saying if we have tweaked the criteria as much as we have, I feel like we are doing for this application. I sure hope there's enough money left to come back and consider Pierce's Hall, because their application also requires a tweak. And I think their tweak is a smaller tweak than this one. So I just want to go on record.
Okay, it looks like you might have agreement on that one. All right, so are there comments in the room about this allocation? Any comments online? Any further discussion among the board? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Me.
Opposed. Me, okay. All right, so that motion passes. So the last time that we had applications before us that were not before us for 2 weeks, what we did was allocate the money pending the 2-week review.
Right.
Is that something the board would like to consider?
Yes.
Okay. So can I hear a motion to allocate ARPA funds in the amount of $6,000? It was $6,000
Yes.
to the Putney. What is it? Pierce Hall.
East Putney Community
East
Center.
Putney Community Center.
So moved.
For a second. It's been moved and seconded to allocate ARPA funds in the amount of $6,000 to the East Putney Community Center pending a 2-week review. Any discussion among the board? Any comments in the room? Peg, do you have any comments?
No, I think it's a great idea. That's the only comment.
Any comments online? All right. Hearing. Oops, I'm sorry, Ruby.
Sorry, I just wanted to let everyone know, I went to a meeting of community centers alongside Nancy Olson, who is on the board of, chairs the board, I think, of the community center. And we carpooled together and we had a conversation, and she had had a conversation, I think, with Irene and knew that this was coming down the pike. And I think it sounded to me like the community center, the organization, the community center, was very much in support of this proposal and the idea of the select board considering funding for ARPA funding for them. So I just wanted to flag that. I think that within our town, the community center or the organizations that encompass the functionality of what a community center is, and Putney Community Cares considers itself one of those, is a very collaborative group. And I don't think there's ever been a sense of there's a
Well, wait, I
pie.
put my hand up.
I'm sorry, 1 second.
there's a pie that, you know, we all have to take from, and, you know, we're not fighting over pie, you know, we're sharing pie. And so I just wanted to put that out there, and I don't see Nancy here, and I thought she would be here, so I'm just kind of taking the liberty to speak on her behalf, because she was very clear that she would speak in support of this this application.
Okay, thank you. Who was that spoke? Was that Irene?
Irene.
Go ahead.
Sorry, coming to you from Colorado. I just want to voice my appreciation for all of the effort and consideration that you and the attendees have given to our request. And thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. All right, are there any other discussion on the board? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? You said aye? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that has passed. According to my calculation, that leaves $23,149 for the town
Correct.
proposal. Does anybody have a feeling about that? Yes, no? Go for it?
Go for it.
Spend the rest of it?
Mhm.
Yes?
Yeah, my feeling is let's get this over with.
All right. So can I hear a motion to, where is it? It's not on. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Can I hear a motion to expend the amount of $23,149 for the fire department strategic plan and second floor construction?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to expend the ARPA funds of $23,149 for the fire department strategic plan and the second floor construction. Is there further discussion among the board? Peg, do you have anything to say? Are there comments in the room? We are expending the last of the ARPA funds. Any comments online? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we've done it, except we're gonna vote on it again in 2 weeks to follow our process for the Putney, for the East Putney Community Center. All right, thank you for that. Does the board want to take a break?
Yeah.
Yes, so we're gonna take a break like 5 minutes and reconvene at 7:38-ish. So it's 7:40 and I'm calling this meeting back to order. We're gonna tone down the conversations. Okay, so this is the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the fire department status report. Karen?
Well, yeah, so I know we met at the fire station, Peg was there, Fletcher was there, and our intent is to create an interview committee. But at this point, I need to know what this board is feeling right now, because Evan Martin, as everyone knows, has been appointed interim fire chief. We're hoping 90 days. You know, we may have a permanent fire chief. It may take longer, you know, depending on the process. So the very first thing that needs to happen, and this is the board's, the select board approved job descriptions. So we have a fire chief description that dates back to 2004. And it has changed since the resignation of the fire chief. So my question is, we have names, I've been working with Dave Emery He recommends that 5 to 7 people on an interview committee. And is that interview committee going to determine the job description, or is it gonna be the responsibility of this board?
So my feeling is that I would prefer the committee come up with a job description and this board approve it. I don't have the expertise to write a job description of any kind, let alone the fire department. And if we have the right people on that committee, I feel like they could come up with the right description. What's the other members of the board?
I'd second that.
Yes?
Yeah, it's definitely job one is to come up with a functional job description, an up-to-date functional job description.
Okay.
So we can't put a job out.
We can't post a job until we
Without a
have
job
a
description.
job description.
And I think you're right, the committee is a good place to start. We get some expertise on a committee, then we can bring that back to the board, but I think the committee's the place to start.
All right. And you've been the point person for this committee. Do you have
I
some
guess.
kind of vote? You volunteered, or I volunteered you. I'm not sure which.
Yeah.
So do you have a good sense of who should be on that committee?
So I have some names, and so Dave Emery is one.
Okay, and Dave Emery is who?
Dave Emery is,
I see your hand. I'll get to you in a second.
yeah, he was, he's the emergency management director in Vernon, but he was a past fire chief in Brattleboro.
Okay.
I don't know how many years.
A lot.
A lot. So he has a lot.
Okay.
He has a lot of
experience.
experience and institutional knowledge when it comes to emergency services.
Okay.
I completely trust Dave, and he's willing to work with Putney to get us through this transition.
Okay.
And I believe that, you know, most of the personnel here would.
Feel the same way? Okay.
He's incredibly widely respected throughout the emergency services community.
Okay. All right. That's a good endorsement.
So Dave Emery, Fletcher Proctor, and then 2 outside or area, not outside, but area, and it can be somebody from Putney, fire chiefs or past fire chiefs. Rail Basin from Westminster said he would like to be on the interview committee. And I'm just putting names out there, and, you know, so don't throw any daggers at me, folks, okay? Russ Ellis, he was a previous chief here in Putney. And then 2 people from the membership, I'm gonna say. So one of my recommendations is Brian Harlow and Billy Strauss. Your name was brought up. I don't know if that's something you would entertain or not. You don't have to answer now.
Was that okay? Was that like a shake of the head no, or just I'm not answering right now? Okay.
And the other person who has not gotten back to us was possibly John Knopper.
Okay.
And I would entertain any suggestions from the membership as well.
Okay, so this is a little bit of a different kind of committee than we usually stand up. I guess I might even just call it a task force because it has a very specific goal, and presumably once it's met its goal, it will then disband. But I assume that it will still be subject to open meeting law if it's under the select board. In the past, we've written up charges for committees. Does it have to be?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that, yes, of course, we're subject to the open meeting law, but the committee, a lot of what the committee would do would be an executive session because
Sure.
discussing individual candidates and the
Job
a lot of the
description, though.
personal information
Yeah.
they submit, it shouldn't be
Yep.
it shouldn't be spread as a public record, so.
Right.
um,
I was thinking more about job
The
description.
public part, yeah, that part for sure.
Okay. How do we want to go about this? Do we want to solicit letters of interest and is meeting on April 3rd too late to stand up that committee? Do we want to have a special meeting with entertain that before? What's your feeling on that?
Someone mentioned a work session, so I don't know if that's still, I tried to do a doodle poll, but this place is booked for
Okay.
like all next week. You could go down to the fire station
Yeah.
if you chose to, but I would have to check with the schedule, cause they may have trainings on certain nights.
I think a work session, particularly focused on the job description, would be a really good thing.
Yeah.
Well, are we giving the committee this job description piece or?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking the work
I-
session would be or the special meeting would be to stand up this committee.
Yeah, and maybe we need to get, whatever interest level these people all have, get them tied in and then have an organizational meeting as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But we gotta have the select board give it a nod.
Right, so I guess what I'm trying to get at is when should that happen? It's March,
I think it
20th
should
right now.
happen next week.
So,
We need to move on this quickly.
okay, is
We
March
can't-
27th, and I know Peg, you usually have something going on Wednesdays, but is that soon enough? That would give us enough time to, I see your hand too. I've got, let me write that down. I've got Bryce, Rory, and then I have Laura Chapman. Is that enough time to submit letters of interest and get this up and running? Yes? Everybody's
They're mostly
so far
You've
good.
contacted these people, with the
Right.
exception of John, you've talked to them.
Right.
Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on for a second. So tentatively, we're gonna say March 27th as a special meeting. For right now, I'm gonna take some comments now. So, Bryce?
Just as a name, I haven't even talked to him at all, but, I was gonna suggest maybe Cole Streeter too from Westminster. I don't know if he's still even on the fire department. but- Okay, so I was gonna suggest him, and then I was also gonna suggest that you kinda commented on it already, but, I had written down like, since we've gone through the health officer, all these different, code things, like just making sure we define what the role is of the chief, so we don't run into the same problem again of having too many hats.
I want to just throw something else and not to put a monkey wrench in this,
No
but if
monkey
you're
wrenches
looking
today.
at a job description for the fire chief, I would highly recommend you do the same for an assistant fire chief. Because we don't have a plan, because if we had one, we wouldn't be in this situation right now.
Good call.
So I think they both need to be done
Okay.
at the same time.
Okay, that's a good point. Rory?
I'd like to make sure that when representatives from the fire department are being selected, that they are selected with the intention that they have the support of the current members of the fire department. Certainly picking someone who might not speak for us as well and doesn't know current fire department events, personnel, and the way we go about doing things would not best represent the interest of the fire department and the current members.
Okay, that sounds fair. When we do meet again on March 27th, it will be an open meeting and we'll be discussing the committee, possible committee members, and input will be welcome at that point, and we may even know who we might discuss before that, I'm not sure. But absolutely. Laura Chapman? Laura? Are you muted? We can't hear you, sorry. Technology is great unless it doesn't work. We still can't hear you, Laura. If you want to try getting off and back on, we can come back to you in a second. All right, moving on. So, are there other pieces that we want to discuss on the board? Billy?
Billy Strauss, seeing as how my name just came up, and I actually have not been contacted about this. Kind of picking up on what Rory said, I think it is vitally important that the leadership of the fire department, as it currently stands, is consulted on who is on this committee.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I'm the best person. Maybe if there are a couple of people, I could be part of it, but I
I
think.
would suggest that a couple of people from the fire department ought to submit letters of interest.
Well, I think.
So we know who it is, and that we're not blindsiding anybody.
Well, I'm gonna go one step further. I'm gonna say we have a current interim fire chief, and I would suggest that he be the point person for soliciting that input from the department, and if there needs to be a wider net cast within the department, you could decide that, but we do have leadership. That's the end result of everything we just went through for the last 2 weeks. So I would advise that we follow leadership protocol and run it through Evan, see who he suggests should sit on this committee. I would imagine that he should be on this committee if you were asking me, but that's up to him and you guys. But I just think rather than, I'm not sure that I'm the best person.
Well, you were recommended, so that's why.
Well, that's fine.
You know.
But I'm
But
giving you my,
I
given
got
what
it.
we just went through
Yeah.
with leadership issues around this transition, and we came through that, and we now have an interim leader. Let's follow that protocol and include him in this discussion.
Go ahead, Karen.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
So on this committee too, Billy, so myself and Evan would be on the committee, but we cannot vote.
Okay, but you didn't mention, in fairness, you didn't mention Evan's name just now.
So,
So
well,
I'm-
it's because I didn't have it on my list here.
Okay. But I think it's important for the public to understand that we have a leadership transition plan in place.
Right.
This is the guy who's running the show for now from the department side, and therefore any discussion of the next permanent fire chief should naturally involve him, and maybe whoever else he feels would be a good contributor to that process. It could be me, it could be someone else.
Right, and I respect that,
Okay.
it's, you know, it's,
Okay.
so,
Just wanted to
letters
put that on
of
the record.
interest. Yeah.
Okay, thank
Got
you.
it.
Heather?
I kind of have 2 points now. One of them is how many women in the idea of equity and inclusion have you considered including in this committee?
Are you looking at me?
In
I've just been
general.
given I've just been
You
given
sent me here.
a list of names, so if there are, that's a good and fair point. If there are women or minorities that are serving on the fire department at this time, that would be good to put on that committee. Let's certainly put them forward as well. I'm not necessarily concerned about the gender or ethnic makeup of that committee, as long as it's a good committee, but I do take your point. Are there other comments about the makeup of the committee? Sue?
I will second what Karen said. I was going to say about including the job description for the assistant fire chief and having succession planning being built into this right at the get-go. And I would just say that the job description probably needs to consider the other roles that Tom had and how they will be otherwise addressed, because it's an ecosystem, really, of roles that have to work together. So that would just be, as part of this transition, thinking that through a little bit. Heather set me up very nicely for this. I just think one woman's name that I would suggest that be considered would be Ruby McAdoo, because of the work that she has done very closely with the fire chief.
Second.
And
how does Ruby feel about that?
I didn't ask her. She's been feeling a little bit like Billy right now. But I'm just going to say there's another very important community perspective that comes from somebody like Ruby. Just putting it out there.
Fair enough.
Like a busy woman, right?
She's very glad that you nominated her, you can tell.
I can't see what her face is.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a good suggestion as well. So I guess what we're looking for is letters of interest of people who could serve on this committee, ideally with support from the fire department and also the larger community. And those letters should be to Karen, well, ideally by this Friday, right?
That's short notice.
It's very short notice.
Yeah.
But we're trying to get a committee stood up by March 27th. It would be good to know, because we have to warn it and we have to get packets together and we have to know what we're doing on March 27th. It would be good to get those letters in sooner rather than later. How about Monday the 25th?
That's a little more time.
Monday the 25th. Scour the neighborhood, get your people up and running and write those letters of interest. Is that fair?
Question here.
I'm sorry, Peg. I forgot you were there. Hi, go ahead.
I just wonder what time we're gonna have that special meeting. I cannot meet from 6 until 7, so I could meet before that or after that, or I could not be there because we don't, as long as we have quorums. So
I can just make a 5 o'clock meeting if I leave at 4:30. So we could, if I rushed in, I could do that if it was at 5.
because I think with this as the only thing on our agenda, that we should be able to get it finished or close to finish in an hour, I imagine.
Done in an hour, yes.
Yeah.
Is 5 o'clock work? Does 5 o'clock work for everybody?
Hi.
Yeah, so that we can have full membership? All right. I'm sorry, Ruby.
This is actually related to meeting space. I just wanted to be sure the select board is aware of this. Some of your committees and task forces in the town already know this, but Putney Community Cares we've been making it available if we don't have anything going on, it's free for use.
That's good to know.
And you just need to email me at the coordinator,
okay.
Or somehow reach out to me in whatever way you.
Do you have Zoom capability by any chance?
We have Zoom capability, an owl, and
really
a very
that's right. You have an owl.
We got a grant.
You're
We got a grant, and now there's a whole setup.
All right.
So
okay. All right. Good to know. Let me pause for a second while I put this in my calendar. I said no cell phones, but calendars don't count. 5 p.m. Okay. All right. So far we've scheduled 2 extra special meetings today. One is on March 27th and one is on April 4th. 2 wildly separate topics. Is there other discussion among online? Is Laura back?
Yes.
She was.
No. See her.
No, this is Peg. I'm texting with her and she can't speak. She can't get through.
All right. well, we'll move on then. So, is there discussion among the board about the fire department status report or the hiring committee?
I think it's a
If
start.
we've got a plan going on. Are there comments online? Are there any more comments in the room? All right, so we'll see you all on March 27th. Oh, do we know where we're meeting? Can we meet here on March 27th?
Can we meet at the fire?
What fire department?
I mean, look at all the, there's more room at the fire station.
That's fine.
So
What day is that?
Wednesday,
It's a Wednesday.
27th.
At 5 p.m.
I believe so, I'll double check the calendar.
Right, just let me know.
Yep.
There was a few other things I wanted to mention.
Okay.
And I don't know if Evan wants to speak as well, or anyone else in the membership. I just want to say that I have some past fire chiefs that are willing to engage down at the fire station and help us out any way they can. And I think that's great that people are stepping up. I also recently found out that, so the trucks are, the inspections on all of the equipment has expired. So September 2023 is the inspection sticker. So Evan and I spoke, and he was gonna talk to Automall or ATG and get the fleet in to have them inspected.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. He has requested that car one, right? And another truck be sent over to Twin State for like a oil change and then some steps put on. We're gonna hold off on that right now until we get the inspections done to see what else needs to be done. So the fleet does go to Twin State and they have all the maintenance records over there. But they don't do the Vermont inspections. So that's the first step right there. The other item was the, you're gonna have to talk about this compressor thing, because I still don't get it. Evan did give me 2 estimates today. Can you walk us through that? Because I think it's important and.
Yep. So essentially our cascade system that we've used to fill our air packs has failed. It's been failed for a while. Currently it can only run for a certain amount of time based on the last folks that did maintenance on it. So likewise we've gotten quotes for a new system. One was just shy of 21,000.
Yes.
The other one was closer to 80.
Yeah.
I mean, this is pretty much one of the most critical pieces of equipment that we operate as far as safety goes. This is the air that we're breathing in fires. This is essentially our lifeline. As it stands right now, based on what the last tech had said, basically if this compressor runs for more than 5 minutes, and I'm trying to find the documentation that shows this, don't have it now just as word, there's a possibility that some kind of oil can transition over into the airlines, which essentially goes into our air packs. So we'd love to get this updated and protect ourselves a little bit further.
Okay.
So I'll have to look at the numbers. The ARPA funding may be able to help with that cost. I don't know yet. But that's a critical piece of, equipment that needs to be tended to, like, right away.
Right.
Because of
That was the
risk and
piece of
liability.
that was the piece of equipment that's the piece of equipment that they identified in the report as
Yes.
being very important to
Like
replace.
Russ mentioned as well, with oil bypassing it can actually introduce CO to the air as well that we'd be breathing. So
Okay, that wouldn't be good. Heather?
this unit for $21,000, is this a single unit, double unit, enclosed, or open?
So essentially, we're replacing the cascade portion. So it's horizontal. It's going to feed into 2 holding tanks. Then from there, it's going to go into a single fill station, which we currently have. So the fill station doesn't change; it's just the compressor side.
And did you guys price out for a more current unit that's self-contained and cuts down on the bottle explosion and can do 2 units at once?
So that was we have one quote for that, which is the closer to 80,000. Taking out the pieces to try to get both of them to match up, there's still $40-something thousand to match up.
Our current bottle filling station is an enclosed, safe device, so they're not just being filled out in the open with explosion risk. It's all self-contained internally.
Are they metal?
One second, I don't want to have a back and forth here. So can you ask your question? Do you have like a bunch of questions to ask about that, or?
If we're gonna replace things, can we bring them up to date in something that's gonna be safer long-term, where the systems now are enclosed, you fill the bottles, you see no part of that bottle until it's done?
We currently have that.
Okay. It sounds like this is more of a conversation that you could have with Karen and Evan, and not necessarily, we don't necessarily need to be involved in that conversation unless we, at the end of the day, we might need to approve the expenditure, but that sounds like it's a more detailed conversation that we can have in open session here. Are there other comments about the compressor? Are we gonna be needing to approve that expenditure at some point, or do we have the money in the budget?
I don't know yet, I have to look.
Okay.
I can tell you, no, we don't have it in the budget.
Okay.
And I don't know, like July 1st, because we'll have money going into the capital reserve.
Right.
That's the potential, but I don't know if July 1st is too late. So this is an immediate,
Yep.
we need to really address it.
That's what it
Yeah.
sounded like, so it
Yeah,
sounds like
yeah.
something we just need
But
to buckle up
again,
and do it.
We, the ARPA money too might cover that too. I just gotta tease it out a little bit.
Okay.
The only other comment I wanted to make is, so training, I go back to that AP Triton because they said we should have a training officer. So Evan and I were talking, and so the membership would like to keep Tom set up in the membership. And Tom is willing to continue teaching EMS trainings and work with the folks on driver trainings and pumping and, other requests.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure at this point. I guess I'm gonna defer to the select board.
To do what? Whether we want to have him continue on, or?
Well, Tom's willing to stay on and train.
Yep.
So is that,
my personal opinion is if he's willing to stay on and train, then, he's got, the expertise to do that, then I don't have any problem with it.
the other thing too is Evan had mentioned that he's been working with area fire departments. And they're getting into like a shared training.
Good.
On certain aspects.
Yeah.
Because one department might have something that like Putney doesn't have, and Putney has something like the others don't have.
Yeah.
So they're starting to collaborate.
Good.
And work together and do training. So I think that is excellent, honestly, that you guys are able to like think out of the box and start doing that. And I have seen more training in the last like 6 months. than I have over the last 2 years.
Okay.
Although, in the membership's defense, it wasn't showing up on the timesheets. So I can only say that from a budget standpoint, I could see only half of the budget for training was used the last 2 years. So I know you weren't taking full advantage of the trainings. But I think moving forward, there'll be a plan and you folks will get what you need. So.
Did you have a comment before? I saw somebody's hand over there, I didn't see it. Okay, all right. Do we need to make a decision on Tom, or, I mean,
Apparently not, no.
I don't, yeah, that's, okay, so,
I mean, if the person is qualified and certified to train, then I don't have an issue with it. But there is a certification involved with being a
if he has the
trainer.
certifications, then go for
So,
it, yeah.
We can ask for them.
Okay, well, it'd be good to have them on record, but, yeah.
Right.
Is there other discussion on the board? About this, about the fire department in general? Do we want to move on? Are there other final comments in the room? Any comments on, Robin?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to suggest that you might want to consider passing this decision to the committee, which it looks like you will have up and running in the very near future. And also, since you've also already suggested that they write a job description for the assistant chief as well as for the chief, that maybe writing a job description for the training officer would be a good idea at the same time by the same people.
That sounds like a good idea. Thank you. So, any further comments, thoughts? Billy?
I just want to say one thing for clarification, that we're sort of verging on taking what are traditionally inter-department decisions, I guess, into a forum where I don't think they necessarily belong. And I think it's fine to have the discussions in the open, but I think the discussion, for example, of who is running trainings within the department is a decision that traditionally resides within the department. It's not really like, I mean, the select board's expertise, all due respect, is not with respect to who should be the training officer for the fire department. And the town manager has some purview on that, just based on their experience being town manager, but traditionally these are things that reside within the department. So I think if their desire to bring in Tom or anybody else to help with trainings, again, we have an interim chief, and that should really flow from him or her, in this case him. But and I just want to make the point that we have a leadership structure, and that's very traditional, and that's how the department has worked forever, and that's how most departments do work. And I think we need to support that and stick with it and not second guess everything at every step, because it could be 3 months or 4 months before we have a full-time chief. And in that time, we need to empower Evan as the interim chief to run the department. And if there are questions, ask him. But I'm just sort of sounding a little bit of an alarm at the idea that sort of everything that's gonna come down the pike is gonna be sort of fodder for a select board meeting, because that's not a good use of your time, and it's somewhat undermining to the way the department is run.
I tend to agree with you for the most part. I do want to point out, though, that at the end of the day, the select board is responsible for the fire department's operation, and also if there was something that went wrong and the town were to be liable for something, that would also fall on our on our shoulders. So I don't necessarily think that having a job description for the training officer, for instance, is a bad idea. Whether it has to come to us every time we have some kind of change in membership, probably not. I think it's coming up right now because there's a lot of scrutiny on the fire department right now. I don't necessarily see us going forward and diving into the weeds personally. But I just, at the end of the day, it is our responsibility to make sure that it's above board and working as it should.
Is it okay to respond to that?
Go ahead.
I would just say that I totally agree and understand that, but again, I would say given sort of protocols and channels of expertise that we have residing within our town, if there needs to be a job description for the training officer, ask the guy who's the interim chief to provide a draft description for the training officer. And if there are issues or questions, Karen can ask them or you guys can ask them, but let's use the expertise we have and avoid reinventing the wheel every single time there's a decision that needs to get made. And that's where I
So
feel.
I hear you.
Okay.
Are there other comments on the board? I'm actually trying to get us beyond this point, if we can. Robin, your hand's up.
Yes, thank you. Maybe I wasn't clear. I didn't mean that the board should do these things. I was talking about the committee that I understood you were going to be setting up in order to, in essence, look into who you want for the full-time chief. And I understood, maybe incorrectly, that Evan would be a member of that committee, so there would be direct input there. But I definitely acknowledge the wisdom of Mr. Strauss's point, if I just may make that point before I sign off. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments online about the fire department? Are there any comments? Somebody needs to mute. Robin, are you muted?
No.
No, I will be.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments in the room? Are there comments on the select board? Peg, are you good? Peg's good. Everybody else is good? All right. Then I would like to move on to select board reports. First one is the draft, and thank you everyone for sticking around. Bye, Ruby. So the first one is the draft blight ordinance, which has been, Eric has inherited.
Yep, that's gonna take some work. I'm gonna have to sit down with Karen.
Okay.
Got a lot of questions.
Yeah, and.
Or Fletcher.
Maybe the three of us.
I just commented, I didn't much like it.
You didn't much like it, okay.
No, it's,
I didn't get to read it, so.
seemed like an invitation to trouble.
Okay. I believe it came about because there was an issue, there always are issues, but it came about for a specific issue and it sort of has been
And that's,
sitting in our.
And there's an expression, tough cases make bad law. You make a general rule based on one thing that's bothering you and it'll come back to bite you.
Yeah, okay. Well, why don't you three maybe
Need a work session.
make it.
Once-
I'm not involved in this.
All the
black
three of
board,
us.
that's okay. Okay. Draft sidewalk policy, Peg?
Got nothing for you tonight.
Okay, that's fine. Cannabis control board process and procedure, that's neat.
Yeah, Rachel, JJ, and I are going to meet, I believe, this next Monday.
Okay, nice, all right. And then I have the rules of procedure for committees and commissions. I was planning on incorporating what we have, incorporating the other boards into that, and then I thought differently that we should probably separate them out because the select board has its more specific procedures and boards and commissions have other procedures and they have different time frames and it just it seemed like it'd be really complicated to actually put them into one. So I think I'm gonna take what we have and revamp it to, apply to the rest of them. So it won't be soon, but it will happen. So that's all I have. Is there any other reports that didn't make it to the list? On the select board? No? Okay. We are gonna have an executive session, but before we do that, we have a special meeting on March 27th. I believe we decided 5 p.m. I think we decided the fire department. And hopefully on Zoom as well. If we can get that. Do we need BCTV there? We probably do, right? Probably a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's next Wednesday. Then we have our regularly scheduled meeting on April 3rd at 5:30 p.m. at the town hall and on Zoom. And then we have a special meeting for the, what is that for?
The hearing.
The hearing
Yes.
for, I forgot what it's for though.
For the Vermont.
That was a
Community
wig.
Development Program.
What she said on April 4th. And that's at 5:30? Here?
5:30, yes.
Okay. So we are meeting frequently and often, yay. Can I hear a motion to go into executive session under Title I VSA 313A3, which is the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee, provided that the public body shall make a final decision to hire or appoint a public officer or employee in an open meeting and shall explain the reasons for its final decision during the open meeting. And Karen, are we inviting you in?
I would hope so.
Okay, we're inviting Karen in. Are we making a decision?
I don't think so.
Don't think so? All right.
No, I don't.
All right. So it's been moved and seconded to go into executive session under Title I VSA 313A3. Can I hear, no, I already heard a motion.
Karen, Eileen?
Yeah.
Peg here. Just what happens with me in executive session?
You can stay on and we'll kick everybody else off and I think we can lock the meeting.
Okay.
All right.
Alrighty.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay.